Uh, Good evening, all participants. Good evening, team, and good evening, Mr. Priyadarshi, for being with us here today. We'll just be starting the session, and I request all participants to kindly see the chat box for a link to a form that we've put in. As in, when you find the time through the session, kindly fill that form for us. Um, we will be beginning with the session now. Um, as we all have begun this decade with a lot of optimism and a new wave, a spirit, a fight against all the evils, including COVID, we've somewhat realized that our planning and preparedness has failed, and we are sailing amidst high turbulence, uncertainty, volatility, and complexity and ambiguity, with the pandemic tsunami hitting us and affecting people worldwide. Alongside to the humanitarian crisis, there has been an equal uproar in the businesses around the world, and in some businesses closing, including heavy layoffs and much more. At the same time, some businesses and sectors have also seen an upside in their profitability, in their ability to sustain and to make by making quick and timely decisions. Their ability to navigate through the storm is largely due to their effective leadership and having a supportive team. With this perspective, we are introducing the Feed Fridays, a Future Fit Leaders series. It's a weekly series, as the name suggests, and which will be held every Friday. It has a focus on impactful leadership to not just survive through the storm, but also lead into a thriving future. Future Fit Leaders is a joint effort of three organizations, which is Futurelista, My Safe Space, and the Safe Foundation, bringing in their synergies together to create, awaken, and sensitize fitness consciousness among the corporate leaders so that they are future ready to lead with a greater impact on the organization, on the community, and on the society. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, which is Mr. Priyadarshi, and if I may take the liberty of calling him Nanu. We welcome you warmly, sir, to our Free Friday series presented by the Future Fit Leaders. Um, a brief introduction about Mr. Priyadarshi or Nanu. Nanu is the founder and the CEO of CSM Technologies, an Eastern India technology firm with a forte in empowering governments, their partners, and multilateral agencies through transformative digital solutions. Nanu is a self-made man with an extraordinary resolve, determination, and tenacity to create his destiny. Nano formed CSM Technology almost 2 decades ago, and today it's one of the few successful companies in the IT sector in the Eastern India, headquartered in Bhubaneswar with a global presence. As a foresighted entrepreneur, Nanu always dreamt of making CSM related to his city, like Infosys is to Bangalore, like Satyam is to Hyderabad, or like HCL is to Noida. Interestingly, Nanu has been nurturing his dream of positioning Bhubaneswar CSM Technologies, building transformative solutions for government as a government tech organization. I'm sure that today's session will be one of the most intriguing sessions packed with learnings from his startup journey to what is now a sizable and a scalable organization. It is a rare opportunity to listen and to optimize from leaders who have created, expanded, and grown their businesses, especially in today's context. The entrepreneurial spirit is a must for any leader to succeed in a highly volatile and complex times. Now take the opportunity to introduce our three organizations to you. Futurelista. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Futurelista Consulting Partners, a boutique consulting firm offering comprehensive HR solutions and services to the corporates. We work together as a transformative partners, empowering talent, transforming businesses, and creating a future-ready organization. At Futurelista, the blended approach of predicting performance through the unique 4C model is to deliver as per the organization's requirement, ensuring speed, execution, and excellence. And it is the key to effective implementation towards enduring success of the corporates. Futurelista not only provides executive service, selection, consultation, leadership, coaching to domestic entities, but also extends its expertise and services globally. It also has its strength in providing solutions in important domains of mental health and diversity and inclusion. Now, Safe Foundation. I'm equally delighted to introduce Safe Foundation, which is a non-profit organization. Safe Foundation aims to create an inclusive ecosystem for people with disabilities to enable them to become productive contributors towards the society. The focus of SAFE Foundation is to empower the PWDs to become self-reliant and to become financially independent by collaborating with diverse organizations such as the governments, corporates, NGOs, and to explore employment and career opportunities through artificial intelligence powered global job platform exclusively for the PWCs while supporting organizations in building diversity and inclusive workspaces. My Safe Space is an organization that aims to spread awareness, to rethink the way we look at mental health, and to build a community that reminds us that we are not alone. My Safe Space is an inclusive platform that provides comprehensive knowledge, hands on techniques, and professional services for all your mental health related concerns. With a team of diverse and well trained and experienced mental health professionals, My Safe Space provides the opportunity to access not only traditional mental health services, but also contemporary approaches such as art therapy, dance and music therapy, psychodrama, alongside other several options. In its unique way, MSS aims to provide feasibility, ease, and professionalism in accessing mental health services across India. One does get tempted to keep one does get tempted to keep everything away when we are conducting our businesses and sometimes lose the focus on ourselves, almost forgetting that we are also the center of our own business. With this aim and with this awakening and consciousness of our mind, body, and soul, we are now looking forward to gauge a deeper knowledge and understanding of Mr. Nanu's experiences regarding his leadership quotient to become a future fish leader. Nanu, I will now take the liberty to ask you the first question for today's event. So my first question begins here. Nanu, we are keen to understand that your entrepreneurial journey so far has been full of initial challenges. We want to understand how your personal values and your beliefs have shaped your organization. The key learnings that you would have to share with our participants to become a successful entrepreneur and to create value for all our stakeholders. Nanu, you're on mute, please. Yeah.
This is called Zoom stress. Thank you, Priyanka, to have me here, and thank you all the three organizations to invite me. And thank you, Priyanka, for the good words that you've spoken about me. And I think to start with, of course, I'll be explaining about, I'll be taking you back 20 years back to my entrepreneurial journey. But then, be it an entrepreneur or be it a manager, the traits are all same. Because at the end of it, you have to be leader of men and women and to be able to, inspire them all the time. And I think that is what I define as an entrepreneur to be. So, amongst the participants here, the budding entrepreneurs, I think I'll share some life lessons, share something that, I have gone through, which maybe I'm sure, they are probably not written in some management schools, but then they are all life lessons, and which you all and I myself practice in, day out. So about the entrepreneurship, I think the journey has been very enriching. So far, it's been a great ride. And I feel each day, in the last 20 years, it's been that I've been doing the same job. And each day I have the same zeal, same apprehension, and same confidence. That's the key attribute to keep me on the toes and to keep me to be thriving all the time. I'm super low on confidence and I'm super high at confidence at the same time. So I don't take things for granted. And that is what probably, I've been, and I think the DNA of our organization has also been like that for a long time now. So 20 years has been a long time. And we started somewhere around 98, and the most celebrated word today called startup was never heard of. That word was never there. And it was like, I come from a family of bureaucrats or people happily serving for and very successful people, but nobody had enterprised in my family. And when I took this decision to do something of my own, right, it actually shocked it shook up the entire family. In fact, I remember my father did not speak to me for some time, right? And because rightly so, because every parent would like to have the children to study, children to gain more knowledge, so that your future is protected. And if I have to look back, actually he was right, and I should have done that. I should have studied more. I should have worked in some place, so that the initial journey that I had probably could have been a little bit better. But that doesn't mean that as a startup, what you have to go through, you still, any garage company has to go through that, and anybody who's starting has to go through that. But then I jumped out of college directly to business. And as I told you, as I shared, that nobody in my family comes from a business background. So the first thing that I had to do was hunt for ideas. In fact, it had started very early during probably the 6th or 7th semester in my engineering. The Kida had already gone into the head that something had to be done, and I had to do something. So I remember, because dad was very upset with me, so I kind of managed. Of course, moms are very emotional. I probably managed to take some money, and I participated in a lot of exhibitions. I remember I'd been to Delhi many a times, Delhi, Bhopal, Chennai. I traveled all the places to go and probably look for ideas, and probably in exhibitions are the best place where you can see certain things. Where if you are able to identify yourself. So, of course, now, as I told you, today, if there is a startup, there are a whole lot of people supporting them. Industries like, entrepreneurs like me also go out of the way to support startups, encourage them, give ideas, do counseling, mentoring sessions, and all those things, and also fund. There are angel investors today. You know how venture capitalists work today. But then those days, I think those were not there. Even if they were there, right? They were for very large companies, not for startups. Nobody wants to put money on a startup, and particularly with a young lad, who had no backing or no such finance with himself. It was very difficult. So, but then interestingly, the government always had some other system, right? They had something called district directorate of industries, and every city, every district had this kind of a setup where you go to them and you talk about some ideas, and they will give you some business plan. Then they will tell you, they'll give you complete expenditure plan of a capex and opex and stuff like that. So that is something that I remember very vividly. That was the only door that was open. But then, fortunately, in those days, I think if you know this name called Software Technology Parks of India, they had come out of the government of India had realized that IT has a lot of potential for the country in terms of contribution to the GDP and employment. So they crafted out this new ministry or new corporation to support industries only, and they came out with this idea of incubation space. What is today is very commonly known, and some shared working space and stuff like that. So I happened to visit that center, as I've been very inquisitive then, now also. So I just walked in there and tried to find out what exactly that they were doing. And then they showed me internet. Of course, internet was very new then. And so then from this internet, I saw that, the whole world of solutions can be there in the internet, because the world is full of problems. And as an entrepreneur, right, your mind is always working with this chemical reaction to find solution. So if there is a problem, then it makes me happy. Actually, I see that there is a way that solutions can be given, and probably I can be the medium for solution. And there it was, like internet had the whole world of potential out there, and that is in fact probably is the key. Internet actually was so exciting for me that I just could not resist. And then I realized that it was one industry which you just needed idea, and you don't necessarily need to be a rich man's son. Not that my father was not well off, but then not for a business, of course. So IT was probably the calling. I was probably designed, God had thought that way. And so there the journey started. And any startup, startup would be, we had no money and we had no brand. Nobody knew what kind of a difference that we can do for them. So that was probably the biggest challenge. And to overcome the challenge, the next step was to probably find people who can probably think, be motivated and be willing to work through your radical thoughts and ideas. So I was lucky though, I found few people who can follow, because here I would like to say that uh, leading is far more easier, but following is far more difficult, because just imagine that somebody asks you to get up, sit down, tell show a bulb and say that this is an elephant, and you have to say yes. So it's far more difficult actually to follow. And following people like at those days, what I was, right, it was far more difficult actually, because you had very weird thoughts. But that is what actually it enterprising teaches you to be a good communicator and be very someone who can probably convince, and good storyteller. That is what something that I realized, that which I never thought, I never really went through any professional course of doing it, what they teach nowadays in a lot of management school, right? It just automatically came to me, right? As a, because the responsibility was so high that you had to sustain and you had to do something. So these all, because of that responsibility, all your oratory skills, all your convincing skills probably went up automatically. So that is one thing that that I did then. And maybe now I kind of preach that good leaders are good communicators. You have to talk, you have to speak out, you have to be, you have to be, you're not necessarily to be a great orator by yourself, but then you have to give that push. You have to always do that. And one more important thing, that when we started the organization, money was not very important. It was not I was not trying to make money. It was money to be done for the organization, so that money can be plowed back, salaries can be paid, and knowledge can be acquired. So that was the whole intent, and that intent has remained what it was 23 years back. Till date, that intent remains as high as like that. So because we know, I knew it pretty well that if the organization does good, right, anyway, I will be making good for myself. So that was something which actually paid off. And while you invest so much on the organization, ultimately the organization serves a customer. So the customer was always important, and I always made sure that the first customer, in fact, I still cherish the first customer that we had. And the whole idea was to delight that person, right? So that he goes and spreads some word for us, because we were no one. We were too small, and we are not doing something very radically different. We were doing something what Infosys or a Tech Mahindra then used to do, right? And but then we thought that we can also make a difference. So these are few little things which probably got added up. All of them actually got added up. But then, if you ask me, knowledge and relationship are the two most important pillars for any entrepreneur or manager or any successful individual. And with time we got, we always valued more. We became more inventive, more disruptive, rather than making money. Always looking back, that the key learning for for any entrepreneur or any leader, it was to make sure that the knowledge was superior. And that is all that we did as an enterprise. I hope it answers my question, a long one though, of course, to a very short question of yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nanu. I think you've actually very beautifully summarized probably one of the hardest challenges in your life into a very short conversation. Thank you for us and thank you for giving back so much. Like you rightly mentioned, your knowledge and relationships are two key take backs for any leader. For whether you're starting an enterprise, whether you're leading a group of people, knowledge and relationships are the epitome of that. And I'm very impressed with the way you sort of also brought out one really important fact that you said that, I'm low on confidence and at the same time I'm high on confidence. So there is always this balance. There's always that, that zeal to do something, that belief in yourself that I will be able to do that. That's probably one of your foremost ideas that got you out of, from the service industry. You sort of took that foothold and said that I'm going to develop something of my own. So that was the confidence, but it never turned into overconfidence that can jeopardize what you've created for yourself. So that's, I think, a very, very important take back. And I think to our participants, I would just like to give a conclusion of what you just mentioned, which is that the zeal, if you have an idea, if you have the belief in yourself, and if you have the zeal to pursue it, even if the opportunities, like you mentioned about funding or about having people who will be able to give you the consultation are not present around you, you will be able to find your avenue if you're looking in the right places and if you have the zeal to do it. So thank you so much, Nanu, for giving us such an encouraging and such an insightful and an inspirational response to your journey. I would now pass on the floor to Swati to take the next question. Thank you.
Thanks, Priyanka. It's been always lovely to hear you, Nanu, and I think your entrepreneurial journey has been an inspiration to all of us. Of course, Future Lista, which is also just taking its baby steps, it's just getting born. And then we have very interesting two collaborators, the Safe Foundation and My Safe Space. I think this is a significant step for us to hear you, understand and learn very significant points that you said. Never be overconfident, the continuum between no confidence to self confidence. I think that's very interesting and important. And as your industry, the area that you are in is an area or an era of continuous disruption. We all are amidst every minute something new happening, juggling with Zoom to juggling with Teams and so many other things that's happening around us. My second question in Feed Friday series for episode 3 for you, Nanu, is that uh, as we are in the constant era of disruptions, which are happening in every walk of life and everywhere, be it technological disruptions, the business model disruptions, even the model to serve the customers, we ourselves are doing that. It has undergone a lot of change, and the expectations of customers and employees. And I think all of this collaborates to the entrepreneurial journey, to the scalability model. How do you envisage the coming future, which has actually just arrived? I would say future is round the corner, or we are already in the future. And what are the fundamental shifts that's taking place at CSM Technologies? And how do you see the organization is ready to thrive amidst these disruptions? Over to you, Nanu.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you for the question. And I hope that I do justice for the new budding startups that you have started. I'm sure, very sure, I mean, the kind of an effort that you're doing, right? Success will definitely come very soon.
Thank you.
Now, coming back to your question, of course, this is a very key question in terms of because I keep on talking about this. I keep on talking to our people. I keep on talking to my, fellow entrepreneurs that what it is going to be. Because we haven't seen future, but then we are always, as human beings, are always trying to decide, make models for future, how it has to be. And right from school, college, we have been taught that way, right? Aage dekho, future ke liye, prepared. But future, because we are in a times of analytics, we are in a time of making models or making patterns. We have to see that how actually it has been in the last 15 years, let's take, even not even 10, right? Because past will define how the future is going to be. In 15 years, we're in 2021. I think 2007 Apple got launched, right? The first ever smartphone, right? It's just very nearby. I think the youngsters out here, I'm sure, anybody who's 20 and above would have witnessed that shift. They would still remember, right? How things would have changed if at all they had not had access to Apple phone, but then they would have seen, right? The phone coming in. Twitter, the next, if I have to put it that way, the short form of content, how it revolutionized the short form content. See, WhatsApp and SMS and other things. WhatsApp came later, SMS was always there. Orkut, Facebooks, and all those things were there, right? But it was Twitter which forced you to get into that short form communication. How in 140 words you are able to communicate. That was a kind of a radical shift to the way the world communicated to each other. Then we talk about all those gadgets that came, all wearable gadgets that came in 2010, 12. Then I think Uber and Ola started happening around about 2012, and it changed the entire riding. Because I remember, right? Because we used to travel to different cities to do business. And it used to be very painful to hire one vehicle for an entire day because money was a very big concern. Things have completely changed, the way it used to be. So why I'm telling you, because these are, we have to understand, how it has been in the last 10, 15 years. And then we talk about, an unbelievable thing that Elon Musk came, who I am a great fan of. And that is the man, right? If you follow that, he has really seen the future. So who really thought that, kind of a self-drive, autonomous vehicle without any driver would ever be there? And then, I remember in my days, my school days, we used to watch one serial called Star Trek. If many of you who are above 40 here would probably connect, or above 35 would probably be able to connect. There used to be a guy called Captain Spock, and all those things. They used to show mobile phones. They used to show driverless vehicles. So they all became reality. And then I think from 2007 to 2014 to 18 had been all about digital payment. In India, we'd seen that surge happening. The world has completely changed the way nowadays youngsters pay at a mall. The Google Pay or using PayPal. E-commerce has become the reality. And I think 2020 during pandemic, the biggest ever thing that has happened is OTT. So OTT has because we all are consuming day in and out. So this is how, if I see that the last 15 years had been. So, and of course, there are technologies around artificial intelligence. People are talking about AR, VR, cryptocurrency, blockchains. So there are a lot of disruptive things that are happening. Now, if you ask me, if I have to put really my opinion, it will be something called Internet of Behaviors. Tech will now bring together learnings of people's behavior in one single system and then fine-tune the delivery. So as they talk about Internet of Things and Internet of Everywhere, so Internet of Behaviors will come. Now, let's see it like, or we can talk it as a total experience. What would be a total experience? We all know about a word called UX, user experience. So there is called customer experience, CE. There is called a business experience, and there is called an employee experience. So all together, it's a multiple experience, and put it together, it becomes a total experience. So that is what the total experience would be. That a lot of disruptive technologies will come together. But I think the biggest of them would be like the way we are talking today about work from anywhere. If I have to do this in a different way, operations from anywhere or anywhere operations. That means like I'm sitting in India and I'm an engineer who is supposed to be there in the BMW factory in Germany. which requires some skill, which requires some hand to be operated, something like that, which probably can be done while I'm sitting here, and I can still operate. I can, even doctors have started operating, sitting from America, they are operating here in India. So things have, I mean, that is what is going to be one big disruptor. So if you see where I'm coming from, right, I'm talking all about robots taking over human work. Now, it is dangerous in a way because India predominantly, IT industry contributes roughly around 8 to 9% to the GDP, employing roughly around 6 to 7 million people, and there are a lot of indirect employment also. Now, if robots have to take over the jobs, the BPO industry is gone and suddenly robots are doing job, it will become a catastrophe. But at the same time, something else will rise, right? Indians have been extremely good. I mean, the thinking mind of Indians have been, because of the education, because of the upbringing, because that is why the world's best of the companies in the world, the CEOs are Indians today. It is because of the education that they have gone through, the way their mind processes. So even if the robot comes, I think the thinkers will be there. System architects, solution architects will become very important job. Today when you go to Google, you'll see analytics becomes the most sought after job. Just a matter of time, another 3-4 years, you will see, right, system architects, solution architects will become very important. And they will then, somewhere or other, some kind of a shift will be there. The robots will play their role, and human being also will have to play their role and still be able to create a lot of jobs. We need to see how it's going to happen. But one sector that, the jobs are going to surge is in the space of cybersecurity, because the way things are going to be very difficult in near future. It has already started, and pandemic has actually opened up a lot of Pandora's box. Organizations have become very vulnerable because of this work from home. They were not prepared. So the data is there everywhere. There are hackers everywhere also. While we are talking, somebody is probably hacking into a system and checking what we are talking. So that is one space. I think there will be a lot of surge in jobs, and so one needs to be invested on UX and those things, right? System architects, solution architects, and cybersecurity. That's what I think.
Excellent. I mean, we have really gone back to the era 20 years from now, and what all has changed. It was like a movie going on, actually, for me. I got a little bit lost and drifted to see that we have come out from that pager days to smarter handsets, smartest of all, which has everything now. You frankly don't even need a pen and a paper. I mean, the digital diary to everything happening digitally in your, people don't even want laptop now. They just want those, handsets are good enough for everything with different improvements that's happening. So interestingly, and not only in the products, I think very nicely you talked about the Uber, Ola, or companies like Airbnb, no products, but still they've become so good. And yes, Tesla is the organization, or Elon Musk is one of the most favored entrepreneurs or successful CEOs for, I think, every young boy, if I may still be a little gender stereotypical here. So I think that's something very interesting that you brought. And few things that I gauged from this conversation with you, and especially the disruptions. Yes, it's happening all the time, but very beautifully you created a clear niche of a still, even if robots take the jobs of humans, there still would be more jobs and more interesting and focused jobs for humans coming over. So I think that's the blend, and that's what is important to hear and to know from entrepreneurs or CEOs like yourself. And one interesting concept that I'm leaving the participants here to just deliberate, think through, and maybe come up with your own ideas is AI with emotions. It's Internet of Behaviors or total experience. Somewhere or the other, there is a lot of research going on. At least because I was working a lot for the SAFE Foundation, and I understood that even right now we don't have very clear interpretation or use of the system which helps us understand the sign language, because there are so many actions and how the computer interprets it. So there's a lot more scope to be done. But emotions with AI, I don't know how deadly the combination would be or how great the combination would be, but I'm sure it's going to be very near all of us. We survive pandemic. I'm sure we're going to live with very new things coming forward. So thanks very much, Nanu, and I pass on my colleague Priyanka for the next question in series. Priyanka.
Thank you, Swati, and thank you, Nanu, for taking up that question. I think, like Swati rightly mentioned, it took us back. Me, not so like as much back. I think it gave me an insight into so many different things. I could relate to Star Trek and how things have evolved since then. It's a great journey. Thank you for shedding light on that. And continuing the conversation from there, Nanu, like you've mentioned, and you've made us aware about how many ways will changes sort of come in after the pandemic and how we need to evolve ourselves. So as changes come in and the environment becomes slightly uncertain, and what we understand that uncertainty brings in some amount of fear and stress, and obviously mental health concerns. This pandemic itself has seen a lot of increase in mental health issues amongst the population. So my next question to you would be that as a leader and as a CEO, how are you insulating yourself and your team from anxiety and the fear of the unknown? What are some of the steps or initiatives that have been taken to promote mental health and well-being at CSM Technologies?
I think very rightly asked, and the times are just apt right now because there is a lot of stress that is going on. But why now? The stress was always there. Probably I've been witnessing this kind of a stress from 2014, 15, or probably in this last decade. I have witnessed this stress with a lot of youngsters, to be very honest. And it's nothing to do with pandemic, of course, the different level of stress, but mental stress, anything, in India, we kind of don't really appreciate the fact that, somebody needs therapy or somebody needs to go and reach out to a counselor. So in West, it is quite popular. In India, it is still considered to be a taboo. And that is something which is not fair. And I think a lot of youngsters today are going through a lot of crisis that I'm very sure about. And we realized it pretty early. Human beings are social animals, right? We love to share feelings, fears, we love to gossip. And gossip is not bad, I will not be permitted, of course, in the forum to use the word, but then it is like, you have to talk behind people, you have to talk, you have to keep on talking a lot of nonsense, and which has a therapeutic value, which is very important, which needs to happen. Nowadays, people don't talk much, right? You're either consumed in your WhatsApp or your social media or in your OTTs. And or otherwise, and if you are an ambitious person, right, you still don't have, you are all within yourself. You're bulldozing and you're riding high and stuff like that. So, of course, we are all logged in for good 13 months. Most of our people are logged in for 13 months now. It's a different challenge altogether right now. Now, you see, with youngsters, I find this problem of lifestyle with ambition leading to lifestyle, or that is how it is. And it is affecting your mental balance, right? You are incoherent in your thoughts, it comes later, right? And then you have, you're constantly, over calls, midnight calls, early morning calls, Zoom sessions. The Zoom sessions, in fact, I read in the newspaper that, it is stressing out a lot of people, particularly women, right? because the homes are not designed as office. You're not always very well painted to be sitting in front of a camera and then hundreds of people gazing at you. Right now, when I'm talking to you, I know that I think how many people, how many participants should be here today.
About 100.
Yeah, about 100. So I know the 100 people are looking at me, right? So at the close proximity, it does create a lot of stress to a lot of people, not to everyone, but then to those who this is one such example. There are many such stress, and we at our organization, we realized this early, and we realized it to the, but it is counterproductive. It is in a team, there are fights that erupts out from nowhere. Misunderstanding happens. So, and then we tried to find out some root cause, and then we got one foundation attached to our organization. We have coaches, and they conduct mental wellness sessions. And we try and openly tell people that, if you have a problem, go and see a counselor. It's very important. It's no more a taboo. Rather, it is like you will encourage 10 other people if you actually do so. But at the same time, if I may be permitted to put it this way, and without disrespecting anyone who is going through a trauma, you see, I happened to visit this counselor myself, because while I was negotiating for my organization, right, I thought that, let me give it a try. Maybe I am, because as I told, I'm very low on confidence, I'm very high on confidence. So it's whether it is a balance or, you go up and down all the time during a day. So I thought that maybe there is a problem with me. I better go and check myself once. So the counselor kind of laughed at me. They said that people like you will have no problem ever. I said, that's not fair, right? Maybe please talk to me, please ask me questions and evaluate me. So she said, no, it's not possible, because you will not have it, because you are very high on purpose. Now, what do you mean by high on purpose? That means, in other words, the bigger picture is always very crystal clear, right? There are no trivial things which can probably, shake me. That doesn't mean that I don't get shaken, right? But from a mental healer or a mental coach, right? That is how they put it. That's the perspective, right? That is their perspective. That since you are very clear with the purpose, and you're very clear about the bigger picture, right? Nothing can actually shake you. So you have a very strong mind, and the strong mind is coming from a very positive approach. Now, that is something that that the person told to me. Okay. Now, at the same time, I don't undermine that somebody may be going through the problem. I can't really laugh it out. But the message here is that be very positive in your approach, and to be positive in your approach, you have to be always seeing the bigger picture. If you see the bigger picture, all these challenges that we may have in our mind probably can go away. See, challenges, everybody, we are, I'm a person with blood and flesh, right? We are as normal as people as we are. We have our own ups and downs, but, we will never allow something to eat us up or probably destroy our careers. And probably the one thing that can help, and it is helping me also, because I find that a lot of things actually get settled. I came to yoga very late, and I would advise a lot of people that to take professional help and do yoga. I really found it to be very, very good, and you don't need to be at any age. You can start it at any age, and you just have to get it going. I stop here. I hope I answered your question, Priyanka.
Yes, thank you, Nanu. Thank you so much. Being a psychologist myself, I think I completely understand what you said right now, and it makes, I think it gives a lot of feedback to, I think, a lot of people, definitely us as well, that, being aligned with your purpose and having that positivity in you, and definitely being guided by the approach leads you to a place that is meaningful. And once we've sort of aligned ourselves to our purpose and our meaning, I think, like you mentioned, the the small struggles, I would not say small or big, however we perceive it, those struggles in the process, they get resolved themselves, because I know that tomorrow when I ride over this, I will be leading to something that will give me that purpose, that will align me to my goals. And that is very rightly said. And thank you so much for telling us that how I think you really interestingly shared that how technology is something which has changed and consistently changed so rapidly in the past, that has impacted us and impacted our relationships as well, which is causing a problem on our mental health. And I'm sure CSM is grateful to having you as on board and giving them the opportunity to break the stigma and provide them with services that would really make their life meaningful alongside work as well. So thank you, Nanu. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would now give the floor to Swati again to take the next question.
Thanks, Priyanka. And I think what I'm getting from this conversation so far is that Nanu, this seems to be a very progressive approach at CSM Technologies, where maybe based at Eastern India, but the approaches are no less than any other continent would have in terms of working towards the organization for the people, with the people, and moving forward with them to see that they are actually emotionally, mentally, as well as physically hale and hearty. Otherwise, the productivity or the engagement levels that we as HR professionals keep driving from the outside would definitely not land until unless you have somebody like you on the seat as a CEO who is ready to go for that experimental or a roller coaster ride himself with a coach. This actually brings a lot of walk the talk kind of concept. Very interesting idea that you have shared. And in succession to this, and maybe in the interest of time, I would have the last question for you today, and then we'll move to a very interesting rapid fire round with you, Nanu. So my last question for you is towards PWDs, persons with disabilities. As you rightly pointed out, there is a purpose which is very strong. And if you go to a coach and the coach says that the quotient of your purpose is so high, that's your anchor, so you won't be in a problem. I think I am also driven by some such purpose, and many of us are, which is to work to support or empower the PWDs, persons with disabilities. And in this context, there have been a lot of researches and discussions that we've been doing. Ourselves, we are reading and discussing with various leaders. And one of the reasons also comes or brings to the light is the poor mental health, which is also due to the lack of inclusion and sometimes the integration of people who are different from others, maybe in gender, in color, in ethnicity, etc. And again, coming to persons with disabilities who have been so far, at least in my research or our research as a group has been that they're not even coming to 4% of the workforce combination in organizations, including governments. So they kind of fall into the category of CSR. However, the intent here and the interest here is to give them or make them financially independent consistently. That's important. Why? Because they have a lot to offer to the world with their heightened senses. Now, we would like to understand your stake and approach towards these untapped potential of persons with disabilities, and how do you see them including to the mainstream and they become the productive resources of the society?
Thank you, Swati, for putting this to me. I think from my heart, let me share something which probably can connect, probably can also give an answer to the question that you put, and also has a message there. You see, we start as an organization. We started in a complex, and we were on the second floor, and we stayed there for good 15 years. And in 2009 or 8, a boy joined us called Sashwat. I remember the name well, and he's still a very good friend of me in Facebook and LinkedIn. Sashwat is disabled from the hip, and he was on a wheelchair. But he used to come to work. Extremely talented guy, right? He was working for a project when in those days we were working for a retired judge from the Supreme Court on creating pendency of court cases in India. And as the judges are, right, they're very, very arrogant, very, they want timely delivery, and very knowledgeable guy. And this guy alone used to handle it. because it was beyond me to handle that particular person, and that smart he was. He used to be carried by his father daily on a two-wheeler. Then his father will carry him all the 2 floors. He was a little bit hefty, and then put him on a wheelchair, and then he will then ride his way through the office and work. And then father will come at 1 o'clock, pick him up, take him down, go home, have lunch, again come back, and like this. So 4 times in a day, up and down, the father used to do. Father was something around 55. I used to watch it, right? He was my favorite, right? I used to be very fond of him, and I think at CSM a lot of people will still remember him. Now, honestly, to do something for people with challenges was not there from the beginning, and I'll be very honest. Things like this actually changes you, right? Every day I used to see, and I used to feel so pity at myself that I could not offer the poor father in carrying the boy up, right? I never had those days. We did not have much money. We did not have much people because the place did not have a lift. So he had to be carried. And secondly, I did not actually wanted to show that somebody may feel pity, the father may feel pity that we 4 of his colleagues are going and helping him come up and down and all those things. We did not want to do that fear was there, so you did not want to hurt on the wrong side. We never had because it was a rented space, the washrooms were also not proper, right, for him to go. So these things actually was very, very painful. Then whenever of course I have my own personal problems also, so maybe it has changed the way that you want to see things. And I'm the one person, right, I get very upset with people trying to go and give some food or material to people who are needy. Well, I say that it doesn't help, because people have to be economically valuable to the society, because otherwise they will become a burden to you, right? Everybody have to contribute. Everybody has to be economically sustainable. That's the right word. So when we probably created our new office, we made sure the lifts, the entrance area, there are all facilities for the washrooms and everything are built to make sure that it takes care of people with challenges. Now, Government of India has earmarked some 2% of hiring across the board. Whether it is publicity undertakings or ministries or everywhere. Let me give you a very painful example. My bank is a Punjab National Bank. Sorry, I should not be taking the name. So I went to the bank once to meet a general manager, and here he had his executive assistant and his PA and another person. Now this person was blind, and he was there, and I was asked to wait for 15 minutes. So I actually kept on noticing, what is this guy doing? Is he contributing anything? And then I realized that he's doing nothing. Right? No work has been given to him, because he can't do anything, right? And he's just there. So I felt a little bit pity. This is not a way. It doesn't actually help the society. So now these 2-3 things actually helped us in our organization. We also went the bandwagon first. We will hire 2% of our hires have to be from people with special needs, and we will do it. So we went ahead and did something. Then we realized that it's the physical infrastructure doesn't only matter. The emotional infrastructure, the policy infrastructure, everything have to be in place. And because if you take people in, there have to be, suppose you're asking for 40-45 hours of work hour, And today the managers have to deliver with a team of people. So everybody have to be productive. They all look for productive people, right? And if somebody is working for 40 hours, but then delivering 20 hours, then there has to be a HR policy tweaking that, this is what we are expecting. You lower the salaries also according, right? It's not that you pay people at par, but there has to be some structure that has to be made. So we realized it pretty late, and that is what something that is there with my heart, in my mind. We are slowly, steadily doing it, because these things you can't hurry up, and you have to go step by step, do it scientifically, do it properly, and do it with such thought that it will become and it can grow by the day. So somewhere we feel that we have the opportunity with ourselves to create jobs, to support, not to support people, to give opportunity to deserving people. And we can be the change maker, and we can only do the change provided we have a lot of counseling done within the organization, a lot of tweaking with the HR, a lot of infrastructure correction, which is the most easiest part. Infrastructure you can do, right? But then changing people, making managers take job from people who can deliver probably half, is something which needs a lot of counseling with it. So that is something that we are doing. Of course, I've been very gender insensitive, rather, if I have to put it that way. That means I don't differentiate between a man and a woman, and I don't do that. I have been like this from a very beginning, right? Anybody who is willing to, we work in the mining sector, so we had an all-women's team recently going to the mines area and doing a lot of work, whether you're wearing a sari or whether you're wearing jeans or whatever, right? You can still do whatever the man can do. At CSM, we have roughly around 30% of people from are women, and we are pushing and doing a lot of tweaking in the HR policies, a lot of acceptance we are trying to do. So, of course, I told about gender because we as an institution, we realize that it is not about people with any disability. It is as an organization, you have to the multinational, multi-race. Within in India, we find Bihari, Bengali, South Indian. We find a lot of problem because we have a habit. If we are a company based out of Odisha. So typically, a lot of meeting, you will see a lot of people will start talking in Odia, right? So that's why we made sure that for us, our language is Hindi or English. So either we speak Hindi, I mean, that becomes easier. So anyway, I'm just I went a little bit off track, but then so we as an organization are committed. We will do our bit, and we want to be a lighthouse. And I genuinely feel I feel that we as an organization based out of Bhubaneswar, if we have to create a dent tomorrow, we would like to be known with a company which is inclusive, which has created jobs for people who probably would have found it extremely difficult. That's what my value chains are, my ambitions are. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Extremely thrilled to hear your views, Nanu. And it's important that I should spend at least a minute to just bring this entire understanding on inclusivity to the larger audience once again. So very nicely that you have progressed from just a gender or a race or ethnicity towards the higher order, which is PWDs, and even keeping a target of 2% is something I would say phenomenally great. At least we see that the organization has actually understood, not that they want to help the PWDs, but I think the bigger understanding that I am getting from you is that there is a business agenda. They are highly productive members of our society, no matter today or tomorrow. It's better the sooner we accept them. And your humility has been all through this conversation, playing all ways, that how humble you've been to say that we've been late to do it. I would say, yes, you feel that you've been late, but you are still there. Many of the organizations have not even probably thought it around. And interestingly, your area, your initiation, observation, experimentation, that that throttle to experiment with this idea of PWDs and then changing the inside story of your organization and people to accept them as an inclusive team member. I mean, infra readiness is something which still can be done, but most of the organizations shy away doing it. I think holistically, the idea that you're bringing forward on PWDs is fabulous. Definitely, I'm certain that CSM Technologies would make a dent or would be the lighthouse for a state like Orissa to show way for many other states and many other organizations in this corner, what all you're doing at the organization. Now, in the interest of time, I may have 3 to 4 minutes to have your rapid fire, which is really a rapid fire, and maybe about 6:15 we intend to close. Is that okay, Priyanka and Ragini? Can we take the liberty of 10 more minutes? Great.
Yes, I think, yeah. We
Yes.
can definitely.
So Nanu, they are really rapid fire, and we request you with your intuition. Please answer. Yes, for sure we'll have. Okay, so the first question in the rapid fire is, how would you define a fit leader in one word?
Discipline for work. I'm not very disciplined otherwise in life, but I'm very disciplined for work. No matter whatever said and done. That a lot of people, I think, in people who know me, if they're here, and I'm very, very particular about work, and of course, getting to work early. That's been something which been there for many years now. So if it gets delayed, everything gets in a different world altogether. So by 8:30, I am at work, and during these times it is 8 o'clock even. So that's what it is. Rapid fire. First one gone.
Yes. Name top few rituals or habits for a future fit leader, 3 to 5 that you think. One is discipline, I did get.
No, I mean, in that category, I think sleeping early, managing weight, the kind of times that we are in, and during this pandemic, managing weight, balancing time, trusting people, getting comfortable with delegation, because leaders have to be very good in delegating and have to have a very high trust, and don't be very happy or sad about everything or anything. So that's it.
Great. How have you been engaging in continued professional development?
Newspapers are the only source. So, and nowadays I've started, I think I have burnt enough time on OTT. I mean, I probably have watched every movie in both Hindi and English and other languages also. So I think I've now channelized my energy to Discovery Channel. So I'm Discovery. Sorts of, I would not say that, because I hardly have time or patience to read books. So I probably, in fact, I've started something very innovative. I buy books and give it to my people. I'd ask them that, please read it and give me a brief. So.
Oh, that's very interesting. A book reading club. No, but OTT platform is also a good development platform. In fact, I'm watching a series on Amazon on Good Doctor. I think that's very interesting for Safe Foundation. Great. Now, number 4, average time in a week you devote for physical or mental well-being.
1 day off. One day.
Fabulous.
So 1 day doesn't necessarily mean that, nowadays, even on a Saturday and Sunday, I have meetings. But then when I have to shut it off, say from 11 a.m. onwards, I'm not working. I'll not work. Particularly on a Sunday, I'm not working. So it rejuvenates me. That much is enough for me, but not for everyone. People need more.
Okay. What's your mantra for relaxation?
Nowadays, it is about gardening and watching trees grow. Right, that's something which I realized that I really love it. It's very relaxing. So it's I mean, with time, I can talk a lot about trees and the botanical name, the local names, and I can talk a lot about it. I'm destined to become an encyclopedia on plants, for sure.
Awesome, very interesting. Your daily spiritual practice to keep yourself fit.
Yoga.
What's the role of your family, friends, colleagues in your success?
They have given up. They have given up completely on me, right? they don't. I don't exist for them anymore because I never gave them time. I never give them time, but then they're very okay and they're very supportive about it. So that's their role, right? Because how much can they actually, sustain me ignoring them, right? Because I'm always busy, but then they're very supportive. That's what.
Yeah, absolutely. So that means they're just letting you pursue your passion. And that's very important to believe in your agendas and your purpose. Great.
Absolutely.
So now my question, the third last in the series, has the complexity of being a leader, taking virtual tour vis-a-vis walk into work each day, increased during the remote working times?
To be very honest, Swati, maybe I did not feel the difficulty in the pandemic, right? Because every year I used to take 1.5 months to 2 months break, and I used to work from home, and it's been like this for the last good 15 years. Every year around May or June, I just cut off, and so it's not been very difficult for me because I was used to it. I had created my system accordingly, and my office, my executive assistant is also used to it, and they feel that while I'm at home I'm more creative because I write a lot and lots of mails, right? So I hope that answered your question, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. How do you ensure the right balance, especially when the physical distance between the two is minimized and it's a longer process now than usual?
Um, I think using WhatsApp is something we I think the way we use WhatsApp for business, probably not many organizations would be doing that. That is something that and we have a WhatsApp policy also, so to make sure that keep brief. Take only talk very brief on the WhatsApp, take decisions, and then move ahead. That's the balance. I don't know. If that answers your question.
No, it answers. It's very clear that wherever there is a need, there is an interaction that probably you are open with. But if there is not, it's not time to gossip and mingle around. Maybe focus back.
Yeah.
So very strict in terms of the working principles. My last question in the rapid fire: how do you ensure self-control and discipline as a fit leader?
I shut down at night for sure, and I truly shut down. Right, I sleep. I still sleep well because I sleep by 10:30. No matter. And the same holds true in the morning also, because so once you start working, right, you're working. Right, once you're shut down, right. So that's been something which I've been consciously practicing for some time, because can't do multiple things at a time, right? So I I hope that it answers. I don't know whether I get a gift hamper or not. Right?
No, we'll offer you. Don't you worry. Thank you so much. It has been actually lovely to interact with you and understand right from your entrepreneurial journey to the CSM technologies that we know today. And of course, you have been part and parcel all through. With this, I would request Ragini to pitch in. She is actually eager for our participants who've been sharing questions, and she again has certain more questions for you, Nanu. Over to Ragini.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Swati and Priyanka. And thank you, Nanu, for enlightening us by sharing your experiences. Being an entrepreneur myself, there's a lot I could relate to and learn from. And thank you to all our participants for being here today and being so engaging with all your questions. So, by respecting time, I'll just move ahead and ask the first question of the evening. So, the question is that how do you balance both work and home during COVID and during working from home? How easy is it for you?
As I told, right, it has not been very difficult for me because I was in practice of it for quite some time. And I think in our industry, it is not that difficult. But yes, I think the homes are not designed that way. So getting the home designed as office is something which is tough. But at the same time, we've been able to balance it well in terms of a lot of communication that we are doing with a lot of people on Zoom meetings and all. So that's how we are keeping in touch on work and on not on work also.
Thank you. And my next question was that obviously, like during COVID and these uncertain times, like you said, you take a day off and that helps you kind of balance out your mental health. But still, there's a lot of motivation that you need to even keep working on days that you're feeling low. And we all have our internal dilemmas and conflicts. So, what is your recipe to handle the same?
Shut down and go and watch a movie and come back and start again. Because when you're feeling low, right, when it is not, you're just not doing, don't push it, right, because your mind works, your mind needs rest, or go and do completely something very different, which nothing to do with your work. So that's the only way out, and it works. It has magic out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable time. And thank you for being here today. We all got to learn a lot from you. And for all the participants, we are sharing our contact details. And I would request all of you to please fill up the form that was sent on the chat box earlier before you leave today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice.
It was
Yes.
wonderful. I think I did justice to the participant today and to all of you. Thank you for some very good questions, and I hope to see more such discussions, debates happening by the three organizations that you come together and trying to do this. I'm very moved by the fact that particularly the SAFE Foundation that you're doing. I think I can be. Please come up with some ideas that where we can collaborate and see what can be done. And since I now know that Priyanka is a professional counselor, right? So try me once.
That's so nice of you,
Thank you so
Nanu.
much,
And
Nan.
thank you. And
Thank you. Your story was really inspiring. Your experience that you shared with us. And I think we've
Absolutely.
learned so much being new in the whole entrepreneurial area. There's a lot for us to learn from you.
yeah,
Thank you.
and I think one interesting chat that I was going through in the chat box, and I know it's more not only for you but for the state. So I think there have been people who have been complimenting you to take this up as CSM technologies being based in Eastern India in Bhubaneswar, and how this is actually coming forward to maybe change the perspective of the state or perception of the state outside Orissa. So very interestingly, people have congratulated you on your journey and on your taking this forward at CSM. And I think no words, I mean, the words fall short, I would say, to the activities that CSM Technologies is doing. And I'm happy to congratulate your HR to put up such a phenomenal organization together with great talent and great minds. And of course, the new areas that you're working, whether it's mental health or PWDs, and the entire holistic perspective for this organization to grow, thrive, success. So with this, I think together we at Future Lasta, My Safe Space and Safe Foundation, thank you for your time here and whooping 100+ participants today. And they were just joining. So I think I am certain, in fact, that the participants have taken a great learning from you as an entrepreneur to you becoming a successful organization in about 2 decades. So thank you very much for your time. We will remain in touch with you and all the participants here. Thank you so much for your precious time. And we look forward to the next Friday, which is going to be probably interesting with be equally interesting, I would say, with another new leader going forward. So thank you very much. Thanks, Ragini. Thanks, Priyanka. And thank you